We just got a massive information dump about the third eye, plus a really interesting reference to an obscure Dragon Ball game from 30 years ago. We're going to break that down, plus a whole lot more in today's video. So let's get into it. Here is my breakdown of Dragon Ball DAIMA episode 15. This episode is called Third Eye, and it picks up where we left off last time in episode 14. Goku and everybody is charging ahead. Meanwhile, the military police, or the Gendamerie, I don't know why they translated it that way. It's such an obscure word. I think a lot of people watching have never really, I don't know, like they don't know that word, or maybe they've heard it in passing. In Japanese, it's just military police. It's just Kempe. Gendamerie is I don't know. I don't really like that translation. It's acceptable, but I think I've already talked about that in a previous breakdown. Sorry. Anyway, so Goku, they're charging ahead, but the Kempe, the military police, are shooting. And okay, so here we're gonna get a lot of people complaining about this, and even me. And I like DAIMA. I've liked it a lot, but I don't know. It was kind of weird here because. Basically, the point of contention here is that the military police is shooting at Goku and Vegeta and you know, the Piccolo and them. And these shots, these ray guns that they're shooting, right? These beams of energy, I guess, or magic energy, let's say, is affecting them. So Goku gets stunned. And then later on, Vegeta also gets stunned. So much so that well, they say like, well, I think it was Goku says like, oh, I guess our child bodies can't handle this. So there's a few things I want to point out here. So first of all, yes, Vegeta gets shot and it seems like he's really in pain. And then he asks for the fusion bug. So he takes the Fukkatsu Mushi and he gets revitalized. He gets his energy back. So he did use Super Saiyan 3 and he refused the insect at that point. So we can make the argument here, and it's pretty logical. I think there's no problem here that he was actually rather fatigued because Super Saiyan 3 is really taxing on the body, even when you're an adult. And as a child who's not completely used to using his power and maybe is not even physically capable of harnessing all of his power, it would make sense that he was actually a bit fatigued and just too proud to take the bug, and he was hiding it. And then it was in this moment where he realized he can't hide that anymore. He needs to power up. He needs to get his energy back. So that's okay. But why are these characters that can literally destroy planets, universes? I mean, this isn't that far off from Battle of Gods. Well, okay, so he gets the Super Saiyan God power up, so let's not get into that. But they are extremely powerful beings. He could go Super Saiyan, or not even Super Saiyan, either Goku or Vegeta, and he could take all of these guys out. So there's a few things we can say here. First of all, Goku and Vegeta, well, more so Goku and Vegeta, maybe a little bit less so, but still, they don't want to just kill indiscriminately, right? Especially Goku. Vegeta has killed indiscriminately in the past, but I guess, you know, he's turned a new leaf. So, yeah, these characters don't want to just like massacre everybody. So, okay, that's fine. So they're holding back. They also have to conserve energy because the fight with Tamagami number 1 is coming. So, okay, I can understand why they wouldn't go directly into Super Saiyan or start shooting ki blasts all over the place. That's okay. Also, we've got an established history of Goku being weak to electricity. This goes all the way back to the Red Ribbon Army when he's in Muscle Tower and he's fighting Bouillon, I think is that character's name, like the little bouncy character. Well, he's quite large, and I think he has an electricity attack, and I think that's the first time that we see Goku be weak to electricity. We also kind of saw it in the previous episode when Goku tries to go through the shield and he gets kind of shocked and stunned and he ends up falling down and nobody goes to rescue him, which I know I saw a lot of people complain about that. So Goku has a history of being weak to these kind of like stun/electric attacks. He specifically says, oh, this is really like numbing or stunning in a kind of stun gun kind of way. He says that in Japanese. So, okay, that's something there. I can understand how these weapons are surprisingly effective against Goku and Vegeta. I guess maybe even Vegeta is weak to electricity to some extent. And then on top of all that, we also have the magic angle. So perhaps the Gendamerie is using some kind of magic technology that is particularly effective against Goku and Vegeta, who haven't trained against magic-style attacks at this point in the story. So I guess all of that kind of explains this, but even then, it is kind of like even me, who has been quite positive on Daima, was a bit. I didn't quite like the kind of loose explanation here that wasn't really fully fleshed out. But let's just go with that. That seems to be the justification for why Goku and Vegeta were struggling quite a bit with the military police and all that. Anyway, Gomah and Degesu are, of course, watching all this. They're freaking out. Well, Gomah is particularly freaking out. Degesu is quite calm. He's just kind of, feeling things out. Gomah notices the third eye on Hybis's belt, and he goes, "Oh my God, that's the third eye!" Blah, blah, blah. And we get the exposition dump that we've been waiting for. Now, there's actually a lot to break down here. So first, I'm just going to cover the information that was provided, and then I'm going to go into the details. So we learned that the third eye is something that has been basically passed down through the Demon Kings, or I don't know if passed down, maybe taken, because it seems like these Demon Kings aren't afraid to steal power from one another. And when you use the third eye, you get a whole bunch of power. And I guess this is the way that Demon Kings secure the throne. They are the most powerful being by using third eye. And, well, then we get the flashback that we knew was coming with Dabura. By the way, same voice actor that voiced him, I don't know, like 30 years back now at this point, right back in the original Z run. So that was cool. But anyway, it's a young Dabura before he gets possessed by Babidi. And so he sets up this plan to distract the guards and have this weird little key character that makes this sound. I don't know, that character was kind of funny. He has that character steal the third eye. He break into a safe, because apparently they keep the third eye in a safe. And his dad, Abura, had the third eye, right? So he wants to get rid of the third eye so that Dabura can, he is Dabura, right? So that he can take over the demon realm and take over from his dad, right? A forceful, takeover, so to speak. But he couldn't as long as Abura had the third eye. Apparently, that made him far more powerful than Dabura. Anyway, this plan was kind of weak. Dabura, I guess, had to distract the guards so that his father wouldn't notice that Dabura was trying to steal the third eye. This isn't explicitly stated, but that's my assumption. And so that's why he sends his little, minion to go get the third eye and a safe. Really? At least make it a magic safe so that it can't just break into it. But okay. So the little minion is able to steal it. He runs away to the third demon realm, where he ends up, just totally losing there against this other character that shows up, and he loses the third eye, and then Hybis eventually finds it. And there's this one moment, right, where Dabura tries to contact the little minion. And he goes, what happened? It's now gone. It's like, no, the third eye is still out there. Somebody could have just found it, and then you'd still be in the same predicament where a really strong person might have found it, and then he would take over the demon realm. So I didn't like Dabura's reaction there, but for the sake of brevity, I guess they had to keep it really, really short. But okay, the point is that the third eye is lost. Abura becomes weaker because he can't access that power, and then Dabura is able to take over the demon realm. Although it isn't explicitly said that Dabura gets in a fight with his father and then overpowers him. So we're not sure exactly how that change of power took place, but the implication there is that Abura lost his power, or his ability to harness that third eye, right? The power of the third eye. So therefore, he was no match for Dabura. But then, of course, Dabura ends up losing to Buu and getting eaten. And King Gomah, who was the vice demon king, ends up becoming the demon king. So there's a lot we can get into here, and I'm just going to try to touch on some points that I noticed that I thought were particularly interesting. So in the sequence where the third eye is being explained, we see silhouettes, right? And there's this one moment where presumably Abura, a silhouette of Abura, puts the third eye on his head, on his forehead, and then powers up, becomes quite large. So I think this is implying, right, that the third eye will make you transform into a stronger, bigger, more muscular, or some kind of alternate version of yourself. So that, would be interesting to see when it comes to, for example, Gomah, who is not a particularly threatening character, doesn't really seem like a good last boss kind of character, but maybe with this third eye, he will become this really threatening big character. We'll see. There's more I have to say about that. Before that scene, though, we also have other silhouettes. We get 3 silhouettes, and I was watching a Japanese YouTube channel talking about this, and they pointed out one of the silhouettes looks like it might be some kind of ancestor of King Gomah. It looks kind of like the outline of what that might look like. Another one of the silhouettes looks like it might be, or at least an homage to Beelzebub from Sandland. I don't think it's actually Beelzebub. It's just kind of a wink and a nod to one of these other properties and characters that Toriyama created. But the third one here, the third silhouette is the huge Easter egg that I alluded to in the very beginning of the video. And this silhouette looks like Majin Ozotto. Majin Ozotto is a character that first appeared in Dragon Ball v.r.v.s. This is an arcade game from 1994. And again, this is not a well-known character. It eventually ended up appearing in Dragon Ball Heroes and stuff, and I don't follow that, so sorry, you can look that up yourself. But the first appearance was in Dragon Ball v.r.v.s. And this is a Majin, right? A Majin. It has 3 eyes, so this fits perfectly within the lore. Maybe that third eye was the third eye. No, I think it's being retconned into, because obviously Daima wasn't a thing, and Majin Ozotto was just this one-off kind of like random arcade game character. So there wasn't much thought in it. This is basically just a homage back to this character that was created. And it seems like they added the pointy ears too, so it fits in with this new lore of anyone with pointy ears, or most individuals or creatures with pointy ears are originally from the demon realm, from the Makai. So very, very interesting deep cut there. But there's more to say about this whole third eye sequence. As you probably noticed, the whole third eye sequence is narrated, which is quite jarring because we haven't gotten any narration outside of the intro in all of Dragon Ball DAIMA, and we've never gotten this kind of narration in Dragon Ball as far as I can remember. And I'm talking about Dragon Ball Z, I'm talking about the original Dragon Ball run. Yes, there's always been a narrator that will do things like recap an episode at the beginning or tease the next episode at the end. But as far as I can remember, there's never been a narrator that just jumps in the middle of a story and goes, let me explain this, and then gets into a whole thing for like a minute or two giving backstory. That is always done by characters. Like King Kai, for example, he'll do that telepathically, right? He'll provide background information about something. It happens at least once, if not twice. I don't know. It's been a while since I watched that part of Dragon Ball Z, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure similar things like that have happened before. But this was really, really weird. And at first I thought, this is kind of like bad storytelling, bad writing, because like this is not a thing in Dragon Ball, right? If this was an established thing, I'd be okay with it. But why all of a sudden bring in this new narrator and just let me explain, right? Like if it was a character already established in the story, then okay, maybe. But here's something that got me thinking. The voice actor, the person that played the narrator, is really well known. He's an absolute legend. As I've pointed out before, there's a lot of really famous voice actors in Daima. It's been really interesting to see this. It's been like an all-star parade of Japanese voice actors. And the one that played the narrator here is named Otsuka Akio. You have no doubt heard his voice if you watch other anime. For example, he has played Bato in Ghost in the Shell, Brian Hawk in Hajime no Ippo, and perhaps one of his most famous roles in recent years is, drumroll please, All for One from My Hero Academia. Like, when you hear his voice, you immediately recognize it, unless you watch the English dub, then sorry, yeah, but he's got such a recognizable voice, and he's just really well known and respected. And so to bring him in just for a random narrator role, and the way this was written to, again, have a random narrator is just really strange. So I'm thinking something here. I'm thinking that actually this is not just some random narrator. I'm thinking that the third eye itself has some kind of personality, has some kind of identity. and that this is the voice of the third eye. Because why would you bring in such a famous voice actor for such a tiny, weird, written, like just random role, right? No. I think that would explain why we got the narration, because it was the third eye actually doing the narration and explaining it to us. Now, it is breaking the fourth wall, which is rather strange, but nevertheless, just having this voice actor here in this role was also a little bit kind of weird and one-off kind of thing. Like, why? So here's what I'm thinking. I may be completely wrong on this, but maybe the third eye has some kind of identity, and it actually, like when you use the third eye, maybe that identity kind of takes over or influences you. And perhaps that's why Dabura didn't want to even use the third eye. He just wanted to get it out of the way so that he could take over, right? Because otherwise, why wouldn't he just use the third eye immediately? You could come up with some kind of contrived explanation, but I think this would actually explain that, and it would actually explain why bring in such a famous voice actor. And it would also be really interesting to see, for example, King Gomah use the third eye and then, become really big and scary, and then he starts having this different voice, right? This voice of this legendary, deep-voiced, awesome, villainous type character actor, right? This voice actor. That would be really interesting. That would bring in like everything that I just talked about. It would explain everything, connect it nice and neatly. But maybe I'm completely wrong about that, and this was just a way to bring in an awesome voice actor and also just explain the third eye, because who else would explain the third eye in an organic way in the story? Maybe this was also just kind of a problem that they had writing, because, well, presumably Degesu and Gomah both know the history of the third eye, but they wouldn't know the whole backstory with Dabura. Nobody would know the history with Dabura, so who else could explain that other than just some random narrator or the third eye itself? So back to that theory again. So I don't know, but we're going to find out soon enough, I guess. So anyway, that's the third eye portion of the story. In the scene leading up to that whole lore dump, though, there's a part where Gomah says, "Go get the third eye." And Degesu says, "How? How will I do that?" And Gomah says, "You're smart, aren't you? Go figure it out." And of course, we're seeing Degesu just little by little, kind of like showing that he's just not really into what Gomah is trying to do, right? The big scene that was almost his breaking moment, it seems, was when he had to shut down Warp Summer, right? There was a lot of, I don't know, like implication there. There was a lot of like, maybe Degesu just doesn't want to do this anymore. But then after the whole information dump about the third eye, we get more fighting with Goku and the gang and the military police and all that. Whatever, not really all that important. Piccolo says, "I have the ability to regenerate, so I can go, fight these guys." It's like, really? But I don't think that's really the point, right? Because we're not seeing these guns like blow off limbs, right? Anyway, then also the Neba, right? Neba says like, "Oh, I'm not going to help you. You got to do this on your own." And Neba says, "But if Piccolo gets hit in a vital area, that's it for him too." It's like, okay, well, so Piccolo's not going to be much help. Although we do get that scene with Piccolo and Vegeta kind of fighting back to back. That was kind of cool. The animation overall is quite cool, so that's great. And then there's speculation. I think it was Goku's like, are they going to run out of ammo at some point or something? Like. And then, Pansy says, like, no, they've got enough to go for, like, 10 days. Those guns can, like, go for 10 days. So, anyway, they're stuck there. But then we get a scene, which seemed a little bit random and fast for it to be Degesu. But let me explain. So, we get that scene with the pretty girl with the weird hat. And actually, in the credits, that character, the pretty girl that gets the third eye from Hybis, is called the... Beautiful girl with the weird hat. That is literally the name that appears in the credits for her. So that's what she is. She's a beautiful woman, beautiful girl with a weird hat. And we get kind of a little throwback to the original Dragon Ball. For example, when Bulma tries to get the Dragon Ball right at the beginning, right, from Goku. And she says, "Oh, you can touch my butt." All right. And she tries to, well, there's other moments where she tries to use her sexuality to get what she wants. And this is exactly what happens in this scene, because the beautiful girl says, I'll give you a kiss if you give me that belt. And then Hybis, of course, being Hybis, being funny and all that. We love Hybis, don't we, folks? Hybis is like, I don't care about that, but I like your hat. So then he trades it for the hat. And he's like, "Oh, I look cool, right? Kachoi." He said, well, kachoi is actually like 80s or 90s slang for cool. It's out of date slang. I don't hear people say kachoi anymore. But anyway, then she's kind of like, this kind of pisses me off because her sexiness did not achieve her goal of getting the third eye. It was actually just a weird hat that she wore. So who's this character? Who is this random beautiful girl? Well, there's a lot of speculation going around out there. Is it maybe Degesu dressed up like a woman? Could be, although the voice actors are completely different. So it would have to be like a really, I don't know, intense transformation, right? Like it's listed. It's not the same voice actor. And you can also just hear it. It's not the same person. Is it maybe somebody hired some kind of servant or worker of Degesu? Totally possible. Or is this some kind of random third character that just showed up and actually genuinely wanted the belt? That would be very Dragon Ball-ish. Like just, nope, that was just some random character, just funny, like joke kind of character. Could work, I guess. Or is it actually somebody that Arinsu was using? Maybe, although I don't think so, because how would she know about the third eye? That was never alluded to. That would seem a bit of a ass pull. So it seems most likely like it's some character that Degesu hired to do this. Although it seems really fast, right? That he would be able to do that and get the character out there to where Hybis is. So I don't know, but we'll find out soon enough. So yeah, I'm not thinking it's Degesu dressed up like a woman, but remember, Glins are like, they have no sex. They can, I guess, take on female traits if they wanted to. So I guess that's possible. Everybody loves Arinsu, her female traits. People are going crazy about her, right? I keep hearing about her. So who knows? But for now, we just know that she had a weird hat and she wanted the belt. And then we get more fighting. We get a big tank show up that's shooting these big like energy blast kind of things. The more of like the stunning magic kind of thing. I don't know. I'm just purely speculating here. And it seems like Goku and the gang is in real deep trouble. But then King Kadan shows up with his men, the cavalry to the rescue, which was foreshadowed, I think, in the previous episode by Pansy talking to Peril. Yay. But then it seems like King Kadan is gonna, it seems like he gets killed, but no, he's okay. And this whole part is really quite a reference to the Red Ribbon Army. I think it's definitely paying homage to that. Like these characters fighting these big machines and tanks and all that. Yeah, very, very Red Ribbon Army saga-ish. But anyway, yeah, they win, and King Gomah is like, oh no, what he freaks out again, and Degesu is like, but there's still the special forces coming. So yeah, that's basically it. Here's what I'm thinking. Degesu is maybe, let's just say that pretty girl with the hat, right, was actually a worker, some kind of goon or minion of Degesu. Degesu would have presumably then gone to Gomah before the episode ended, right? Because we do have a scene where Degesu and Gomah are talking after that scene with the pretty girl with the hat, right? Presumably, Degesu would have said, we got the third eye, you're good, she's bringing it, and you're going to have the third eye in no time. But he didn't say anything about that, right? Like, he gave like a little sigh at one point as well, giving the indication that he's just totally exasperated and done with this. So I'm thinking maybe, here's just a theory, we'll find out soon enough. Degesu was the one that sent that female minion to get the third eye. He gets the third eye, and he's the one that's going to use it. And he's going to be taken over by this third eye, like, crazy thing, and he's going to be like really big and overpowered, and maybe he won't even be able to control it. And Gomah is going to be the fake out last boss. And I don't know how Ku and Du are going to play into this, but also I'm thinking there's some kind of like sibling dynamic that's going to happen, because we got the whole thing with Ku and Du and Ku wanting a sibling, and the whole fighting over snacks thing that Hybis said in regards to Degesu, Arinsu, and Nahare, right? Like maybe 4 or 5 episodes ago. I mentioned this in one of my breakdowns, so go watch that. I don't know which one it was. Maybe, again, 4 or 5 episodes ago. So we're getting these moments about sibling conflict. So perhaps there is going to be a point of resolution between Degesu and Arinsu, and maybe Nahare as well. This kind of conflict coming to a boil. Ku and Du kind of being, I don't know, some kind of good force. but a big misunderstanding, or Degesu freaking out because of the third eye, and then the fusion having to come into play with the fusion bug. There's a lot of things at play here, and I'm a little worried that Daima's not going to be able to stick the landing because there's so much that could happen. And then we've also got Neba, who is the wild card who could screw everything up for everybody. And we've also got, of course, Glorio, who's trying to steal the Dragon Balls for Arinsu. I'm worried. And we've only got 5 episodes to go if the 20 episode thing is correct. So I don't know. I'm worried. I'm still enjoying this, but I'm concerned. But I'm thinking that Degesu in the next episode is even called Degesu, right? Degesu is going to have an important role to play, and he may end up back stabbing or going behind Gomah's back and then using the third eye somehow. We'll find out soon enough. Anyway, let's get to my review. I enjoyed this episode. I enjoyed the lore dump, but I didn't like the random narrator unless it gets explained as part of the story, in that the third eye is actually its own entity, and we're going to find out more about the personality, the who the third eye is later on when it possesses a character, something like that. If that's the case, then I'll be okay with that, even though it is still breaking the fourth wall, which is weird in Dragon Ball. I don't know that that's ever happened. So, it's iffy. The whole like magic gun thing and why these characters, Goku and Vegeta and them, are having so much trouble with them, it's kind of iffy. The Dabura plan with the third eye, that's also kind of iffy. Again, we may get more answers coming soon, so I'm not going to be overly negative, but it was an enjoyable episode. And if I didn't think about Dragon Ball and understand like Goku's strength and all this stuff, I think I would have enjoyed it even more, because it was, I thought, like a well executed episode overall. It's just that in the context of Dragon Ball, it's just like, there's some things there that are kind of iffy. So I'm just going to give this a 7 because I did enjoy it. And I'm just waiting to find out more and get the final, episode and all that to give Daima the overall rating that will let me know, like, oh, okay, these things that they were kind of setting up or alluding to paid off or didn't pay off, and then I can be a bit stricter. What do you think? What do you think about my theories? Let me know in the comments. I'll be back in the next one.